leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. Sleeping Beauty. In a faraway land long, long ago lived a king and his queen. Many years had they longed for a child, and finally their wish was granted. A daughter was born. They called her Aurora. Fearful of Maleficent's curse, King Stephen decreed that all spinning wheels in his kingdom be burned. To protect Aurora from Maleficent, the good fairies hid her in a forest cottage. Princess Aurora grew in grace and beauty, but on her 16th birthday, a dancing green light lured her to a tower. There she found a spinning wheel, glowing in the dark. Touch the spindle, a voice commanded. Aurora obeyed and pricked her finger. Unbeknownst to Maleficent, the good fairy Merryweather had changed the curse so that the princess would not die but sleep. The three good fairies put the entire kingdom to sleep as well until the day Aurora would wake. High atop the tower, Princess Aurora slept, awaiting the noble Prince Philip, who would one day come to release her from her slumber with true love's kiss. Maleficent summoned all the demons from her castle to prevent Prince Philip from reaching the princess. Maleficent turned herself into a flame-spewing dragon to stop Prince Philip at any cost. It was a fearsome battle. The prince finally threw his sword and struck the dragon in the heart. The end. What's up, guys? It's your girl Maccouture from Maccouture Crafting, your Disney quilter here. We're going to do a whole Disney series, starting with, you ever wonder what kicks the fairies wear? I really hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed making that for you. Let's get into the Kicks quilt by Latifah Saphir. I took this to Staples and had them make my copies for me. If you do that, I suggest you take your own foundations paper, because the paper that they have there is just too thick no matter how you do it. So I'm going through and I am marking what colors I want where. I'm just kind of planning out the shoe right now, just thinking it through. And I'm grabbing my add 1/8 and my add 1/4 rulers. I suggest that you get the new versions of these rulers because they have a super thin lip on them as opposed to that thick lip on the side that you want to fold your paper back with. So right there, it's nice and thin. This is a thick one. You don't want that. Not for that side. So I picked my colors for my first fairy shoe, and I think this is the Adidas. Yeah, this is the Adidas. Now, I'm not going to show you guys how to paper piece per se because I have a whole video that I just released 2 days ago on how to truly paper piece. But these shoes go together funky, and they are not for the faint of heart. I thought I was going to do 2 entire quilts of these shoes, and I'm not. It's just more involved than I thought it was going to be, which is fine. I just, I'm trying to constantly make content, so I just don't have the time to put in to do that quilt the way that I want to right this second. But since I own the pattern, no big deal. This is what you do if you have one huge piece. Use your sew line glue stick. Put the glue on the fabric and glue the paper down. It's just the best way. And make sure that that glue comes out over so that it goes all the way to the edge. You want to be sure that this stays attached to the paper. This is important. So if you have one full piece, again, use your sew line glue stick and glue all the way to the edges, and then go on ahead and trim out your piece and then set that to the side. And these pieces have some really strange shapes to them, and so you really do want to be sure that you're cutting away all the excess in the way that it's telling you to. It looks kind of funny in some of the corners. You're like, wait, what? Because they're not going to like perfect angles where you would think they would. See that one right there to the right? It's got like a little cliff to it, and you do indeed want to cut on that dotted line. You do not want to cut you don't want to cut it off. So I'm just taking off the selvage, and when you foundation piece the way that I do it, there's some waste, but it's not like I show in the other video how you cannot have so much waste, but I just kind of grab a piece that's kind of near the size, and then I just go from there. That's how I move faster, I think. So for these, I'm just going to start with the shoelaces area right here. And I have rough cut these pieces out, and now I'm just folding them on all the lines. You don't have to do this step. It just helps me to kind of see where I'm going, where I'm placing the fabric. It's just another step. You see, I don't even have on my light box right now because my light box does not get bright enough to show through this this paper. Even though this isn't like super expensive paper, it's still too thick to see through with the light box that I have. If you want to get a light box, I suggest you get the new Caterpillar Pro, the brand new one that you cannot unplug. Okay, so I am putting this on piece 1. And that's the piece that I'm going for. I'm going to fold it back on the line between the 1 and the 2. And that overhang, I am going to cut that off. So I'm going to grab my add a quarter ruler, and I'm going to butt it right up against there and cut off the excess. There's a rhythm to foundation piecing, and once you find your rhythm, you are golden. For your first piece, you want to be sure that it's facing with its back to the paper. You do not want to put right sides to the paper. Your very first piece must be facing, the right side must be facing the mat. Do not have it facing the paper. Everything else will be right sides together. So you see here right now, right sides together. And because I've already trimmed this piece, I put the other piece 1/4 of an inch away. So I just line it up. And that works out really, really well for me. I'm going to show you guys right here this light box that does not work the way that I want it to. It just does not get bright enough. So I'm putting this approximately 1/4 of an inch with like 1/4 of an inch overhang. And I'm trying to show you guys the trick. So that bright blue piece is going to be my number 1. And I'm going to sew the line between 1 and 2. 1 and 2. So when I fold this paper back, I need to be sure that the fabric piece completely covers the 2. See, it doesn't get bright enough. It just doesn't. You can't see it. But boy, would this be a great shot if you could. But you want to be sure that that piece number 2, when the paper is folded back, is completely covered. And that way you know that you'll never miss an angle. You see how that piece that I just stuck down is larger than the piece that's folded back. See? I can totally tell that's enough to cover that entire 2 section. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is stitching and flipping, stitching and flipping. And I'm just going to line that up, and then we're going to take it on over to Io. That's my sewing machine's name. I love her. I need to do an updated sewing machine video. It's coming. And now I'm going to sew directly on that line. Now don't worry, I am not going to show every step like this in this video. I have a foundation paper piecing video that I just uploaded, but this is a tricky pattern. These shoes are, again, they're tricky. So I do want to walk you through a few of the steps and just let you see how they come together, because it took me a minute to kind of figure them out. So I have shortened my stitch length, and that's important because you're trying to perforate the paper, because you want to be able to rip these papers easily afterward. And since this paper is kind of on the thicker side, you want to be sure that you set your machine to like a 1.5 or a 1.6, which I find is tight enough for the stitches to stay, but you can pick them out if you need to. So I rolled it back and I grabbed my Violet Craft roller and I just flattened it out. You do not want to be using your iron with this method, with this way of foundation piecing. It'll just buckle your paper and you'll have a mess. So now I need to sew 3. And really you want to be looking for the 2 and the 3, but here the 1 and the 3 are touching a little bit more, but you're looking for piece number 3. And so we're going to fold it back. Now luckily, you're probably wondering, how do I know what color to put where? There's a key. And I planned it out before, and it's got some letters on there like M for the main color, S for the sole. And so it's just like paint by numbers. So you'll know what color fabric goes where. See, when you open that up, that there are different colors, and she's gone so far as to not just label it with the key, with the letters, she also has it shaded differently in different areas, so you can see that there's a light shading and a darker shading. And right here, the L is for laces and the M is for the main fabric. And so I've got my 2 colors picked out, and then the piece is B1. You can see to the right it's B1. And she's got the shoe. This shoe is called Daryl, and she's got that on all the pieces, so that if you cut out all the pieces, you won't get them all mixed up, which is really nice too. And we are working on piece B1. Okay, so that's how you foundation piece. I'll put an iCard here so that you kind of get the gist. But now let's put the shoe together. So you see how I have it laid out? Oh my goodness. Again, not for the faint of heart, but she's got some pretty good instructions as to how to lay it out. Just remember that you're working backward. So you sew those 2 pieces together, and don't be scared if they don't line up the way that you would think that they would, because there were a couple of times when I had to start kind of in the middle of a piece and I was like, is that right? It is. It is. So I'm putting all the A pieces together right now, and I see that's the heel of the shoe. Yeah, I'm working the heel of the shoe right now because I'm working backward. If you are making the shoe, watching how I am aligning these pieces will be helpful. It might not be helpful to somebody who's not doing it right now, but trust me, I wish that there had been a video like this when I put this shoe together, because I could not figure out what piece went where and why. It is important. I did not do this, but that you flip it over and actually look at what you have, because there will be times when you can clearly see that you're missing a piece. And you'll see in my red shoe that I have a black piece where it should be red. I should just be embarrassed because it's really bad. You'll see it's coming up. And then after you put all those pieces together, you see how that's a weird piece? Like, who would think that that would fit like that? But it did. And you just kind of line them up, and there's the shoe all put together. My toe was off. I had to pick it, and I had to adjust it. And I finally, actually I think I picked this one twice, and then I got it on, there's the money. I got it on the money, but I had to want it. So look at how tiny that little piece is right there. That's what I was trying to show you on this shoe. So this is shoe number 2. This is the shoe that I was not paying attention and ended up making a really silly error. You'll see it. You've got to be careful, and I would even say that maybe you should color some of these pieces with a marker, and that way you won't put the wrong piece of fabric on the wrong one, because I definitely did that in one of these pieces. This is another full piece. This shoe is called the Calvin, and I'm just showing you guys that when you have a piece like this, you rough cut it, and you can see that you cut on the dotted line. That's going to be your 1/4 inch. So it's already built into the pattern for you. So I just rough cut this piece out. And this pattern was meant to go on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. So again, just take it to Staples or copy it at home, however you want to do it. Do not use your originals. Make copies of those and then make a copy of that copy and just put it to the side, because you do not want to use up all your actual pattern and then you won't have it anymore. So you see that I'm putting this on the dotted line, and we're just going to cut it with our rotary cutter. I love this particular ruler right now. I know that I always talk about Quilter Select rulers, which are definitely my absolute favorite, but Creative Grids has a special place in my stash too. And this is definitely one that I grab for all the time. It's 2.5 by 12. When I say all the time, all the time. You don't have to have a ton of rulers, but having the right tools do make jobs a lot easier. I want you guys to see when I rotate this, look to the left. You see how weird that little corner is? You wouldn't think that that corner would go like that, but it does. So really follow that dotted line. Do not just cut the way that you think it should, because if you look at the top of that, it's got a slight angle to it, and you wouldn't think that angle would be important, but it is. Can you guys see? Look at the top. It's got an angle. Follow that angle. Do not just cut straight. You might make a mess. You see that? It's going, I'm cutting straight, and then I'm going to angle it one more time. These pieces are kind of tricky. They are kind of tricky. They come together beautifully if you are, especially if you are a precision sewer. Now Latifah is an engineer, and so her mind moves a little differently than mine. She's a little more exact than I will probably ever be, but you just want to follow this line. There's a reason why she has these cutting and dipping here and dipping there. So really go with it. And then you'll have this really neat piece that does just what it's supposed to do. But it's important that you follow that line. I just can't tell you enough. So now I'm trying to show you why I use an add an eighth plus ruler. Did you see that tiny little piece? Did you see that tiny, tiny little two? It's insane how tiny this piece is. Look at it. It's a little bitty piece. See it? Look at how tiny that is. But don't be scared of it. Just do what you know. And you can still use a 1/4, but you know, an eighth is definitely better, because I'm using red and white, and so I really didn't want that red showing behind that white, so I used the add an eighth ruler for the red. And then you just stitch and flip, stitch and flip. There are so many itty bitty pieces, but don't be scared. If I can do it with my super long talons, like, you can totally do it too. Yes, I call my nails talons. They're back, and I'm happy to have them back, but they're probably freaking some people out. Just stay with me. My nails will always be kind of crazy and funky. I have diamonds in my teeth. My eyeshadow is always crazy, but my quilts are really cool. So just try to stay with me. I know it can be a little distracting. Sometimes I wear huge afros. My hair changes constantly. I get it. I'm a lot. It's a lot to look at, but stick with me because I do some interesting stuff. Okay, this shoe going together. Again, after you sew them together, be sure to flip it over and just look at it. Just flip it over and look at it. I didn't do that. For whatever reason, I just sewed the stuff together assuming that I had gotten everything correct, and I absolutely did not. And you're going to see it. You're going to be like, whoa, that's wrong. I even contemplated keeping it because I was going to have to do three seam rips, and ripping foundation piecing is not cool. Look at how these line up. Isn't that crazy? Oh, look at that. Is this the one? No, the other one has a really weird piece that I'll show you guys when we get there. These are pretty self-explanatory. Oh, you know what? I had to rip this piece right here too. Watch when I open it. Look at that. Oh. Go slow. There we go. There we go. All better. I didn't realize. Oh, I did 2 mistakes on this guy. These shoes each took me like a day to do. They're not fast, and I sew like a banshee. I sew hard and fast, but even still, these took me at least a day, maybe two, because one of them I had to walk away from because I had to keep seam rip. I couldn't get the toe lined up. A precision sewer I am not. Now I'm looking at how these pieces go together, and it looks weird. Like you can't see how the shoe is going to work right there, but it does come together, and she does tell you which pieces to sew to what. But it's very easy to get these flipped around and upside down. I mean, super easy. So again, watching these kind of come together, look at that black piece right there. Oh, you think I'm crying right now? Is this, am I crying? Did I realize it was wrong? I think had I realized it was wrong right here, I could have fixed it with it, but you guys will see how I fix it and you'll laugh. You'll say, really? Really? Is that what you decided to do? Alright, so then we're going to put the more pieces together. Look at that. I think this is when I realized it. Like, this is going to be, yeah, like 3 or 4 seams to rip. Leave it to me. Somebody told me today they were happy that I leave my mistakes in. And I get it, because you do kind of need to figure out new ideas and ways to fix stuff. And I will stay with something. I'll see it to the end. I will see it to the end because I honestly am moving very, very quickly, trying to get these videos out, trying to get these quilts done. So what I did is I took a piece of freezer paper and I traced that shape. I covered the freezer paper with fabric and then just plopped it in there. Problem solved. I hand stitched it down. Not my gift, so it's not the cutest job. However, I know that you all can stitch better than I can, so yours will be fine. And then if you really want to be fancy, just cut the back and take the freezer paper out, and then it's done. It's inserted in there. I say that super nonchalant. At the time I was freaking out, but hey. This quilted pillow is so
I just wanted to show you really quickly.
It is like my new favorite
make. This
make.
one gets a little tricky.
Look at that weird shape right there, that 3 to 4. And I also want to show you guys that the line goes white.
I'm going to sew between 1
in one of these areas because it can't be black because it wouldn't have shown up properly.
Yeah, they get a
so
little
you'll
tricky.
see that in some areas that it's white, and that's okay. Just sew right on there. You see that piece to the left is a strange piece, and I had never sewn a piece like that before. And you'll see when I do it that it's strange. It's very strange. And so I think this will be very helpful for people to see how that comes together, because it just lines up with the bottom of that piece. The top is going to float. And you're sewing at an angle. Watch, you'll see. It's coming. I would never have figured out how to put these together without, I don't know, without these directions, without kind of, it just, this will be helpful. If you ever try these shoes, it will definitely be helpful to see how these pieces come together. So these two are going to go together, and then we're going to put them together with that longer piece. Look how cute. And then they just happen to fit right there. And there are all these weird angles. Look at that weird angle. When you put those together, you're trying to get the tips to meet up, and they do. Sometimes I open my seams, sometimes I fold them to the side. It just kind of depends upon how I'm feeling. But usually once I rip the paper and hit it with an iron, it lays pretty flat. Which is another reason why I think people should print stuff out on the foundation paper, because it's just so much thinner. Look at that piece right there. Isn't it weird? It goes to a triangle shape, and you're going to sew a triangle. It's really strange. But line it up with the bottom, and then sew on that triangle. It took me a while to fidget with this to figure out exactly what we were doing. And there it is. I sewed on that triangle angle right there. And then we're going to open it up. and put that back piece on. And you're going to line up that back piece with the bottom of this piece also. Do not line it up with the top. And then they all kind of come together. I know it's kind of, here it is, right here. That piece is going to line up right there. And then you're just going to sew on that angle. Somewhere my mother is flinching. She cannot stand to watch me move my hands. They drive her insane. It's the only thing my mother's ever told me to do that I don't do, which is cut my nails. And now that I am a ripe old age of ridiculously old, she's finally stopped telling me to stop to cut them, but she's kind of gotten used to them after like a really long time. But see how that looks? It's crazy how that fits in there. Look at that. That looks scary. Don't let it scare you. If I did it, you can do it. But I think it's really interesting how an engineer's mind works, because I never would have thought to put a piece in that angle. What? Craziness. You go, Latifah. All right, so then it comes together pretty easily once you get, you know, the pieces to kind of being larger. And then I think I realized here I wanted it to be a different color somewhere, so I might have switched something out. Who knows? Oh yeah, the hard piece was a wrong color. So I believe I have made a mistake on every single one of these shoes. Hey, I'm making them so you don't have to. If you color these pieces, you won't make that mistake. If you go slow and if you pay attention, you won't make my mistakes. And if you watch how I line these up, you'll be good. If you flip them over and look at your work as you go, you'll catch your mistakes if you do happen to make them, which is not a problem. And in that other video, I show you how to seam rip, which is in case you have to. And there's that shoe. And then you just rip the papers out. This is me ripping out papers. Just rip them out. No rhyme or reason. Just pull the papers off the back. Do it while you're watching TV. It's fun. Have your kids do it. Make your significant other do it. Now I'm going to turn these kicks into a pillow. So I iron them and then I cut. I think these finish at 8 inches tall by like 12 inches long, something like that. So I went ahead and cut some 8-inch strips. I cut them at 1.5 inches because that's as far as I wanted these shoes to go. My pillow, my body pillow is like 50, it was 50 inches by 20 inches. I made the pillowcase, I think I cut it down 50 by 20 so that it was a really tight fit and it looks really nice in my pillow, I think. Then I just added some 6.5-inch strips on the top and the bottom to get it to 20. And I want you guys to know that when you quilt something, you're going to lose like an inch. So make it an inch larger if that's important to you. Otherwise, you'll be like me and be like, what? I chose 20-ounce loft, which is the fluffiest loft that I've ever seen. This batting is extremely thick. I drew lines on my fabric, and then I traced the lines with my sewing machine. And bam. I lost an inch off of each side when I quilted this. This is quilted pretty tightly. But look at the shoes. They're so fluffy. Oh my God, you guys. They're so puffy. In person, they're the coolest thing. Now, I just trim this up. I squared it up. Yeah, kind of squared it up. And I should have used my larger rotary cutter, which I have, because this stuff is thick. Also, use muslin on the back. I used some very expensive grunge fabric, and it should have been muslin on the back of the quilting. Now I'm just doing a little marking with a zipper. This is just a regular nylon zipper, nothing special. I'm sewing across it to create my own stopper. And I'll link to a video on how to install a zipper. An easy way to install a zipper. And now I'm doing a 1/2 inch seam here. And I am just going around the quilt, connecting the front to the back. And then you just flip it inside out, pretty much. Pretty much. So I did a 1/2 inch seam there. And then I opened up the seam, stuck the zipper down in between the seam, face down. Zipper goes in between in that seam like that, face down. Move to the other machine. I need to get an M7, guys. That's just all there is to it. Put the zipper foot on, let it ride next to the zipper. Sew the zipper around. It's literally this easy. Like, don't think that it's any more difficult than I'm showing you, because it's really not. And there you go. Zipper installed. Yay. Then you open up, because I basted it, so again, I'll link a video to how to install a zipper properly. And now you're just going to open up your basting stitches, fold it right sides together, pin like the Dickens, pin, pin, and pin some more. And then you're going to go around the sides with the 1/2 inch seam. Look at how fluffy that is. Oh my god, guys, it's so cool. I went around the edges with an overlocking just to be clean, just to make it clean and so that it wouldn't be fraying, because it turns out that I really liked this pillow, so I wanted it to finish up nicely. So after I overlocked everything with the Singer, I clipped those edges so that I could turn it inside out. So I'm opening up this zipper, and then you're just going to flip it inside out, guys. And then you have a pillow with a zipper in it. Look at those shoes. Oh my goodness. I am just too tickled by this project. If you guys enjoyed this and you're looking forward to more Disney inspired projects, I'm super happy. Let me know in the comments section if you made it all the way to the end, because I really, really appreciate you. And there we are, my new body pillow. I'm in love. Again, thanks so much. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out these videos, and I will see you guys on the next one. This was so much fun. Bye-bye.